Hey, so we're here with Coach Sean O'Regan. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Christian. About yourself?
Awesome. So you're playing 8-man football in Vermont. All right.
You went way back. You went way back, right?
I'm going. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back. Okay.
You got it.
You're in your house. You're at the kitchen table. You're drawing up your offenses, and a couple questions.
Yep.
One, the most important question: what was that offense? I need to know what was it a spread? Was it a power I? What were you doing? Because I'm sure it worked. All right. And was that the moment you knew that you wanted to coach for a very long time?
Yeah, I don't know if I got as deep as like, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I'm 17 and just like, this is going to work, coach. Like I've thought a lot about this. This is going to work. So I don't know if there was that moment. I took a liking to coaching very early. And you know what, I'll get back to what the offense was, because I'll tell you, but my head basketball coach was my head football coach, and he was my best friend's father. So we were close. I'd hung out with that guy and his family, for as long as I was alive, and good family friend. So he really helped me in basketball. He was always asking me what I thought and stuff like that, which I thought was unique for a high school, kid getting asked by their high school coach. And I wasn't the best player on the floor too. So I thought that was unique, and he kind of pushed me out of that shell. But to their credit, man, those guys, when I brought them that it was on those lined piece of paper. I mean, it was about 8 pages because I wanted the full explanation without having to explain it to them, because they're going to look at me like, all right, man. And I didn't know if they were going to listen to me for time. So I was like, look, just you guys read it. So what it was is basically a spread, right? So 8-man football, I get a lot of flack for that, by the way, but it was just 3 linemen putting the 3 linemen right in the middle. Okay. Then you put 1 receiver over here, far right, 1 receiver, far left, quarterback. And now you take the 2 kind of running backs, and we didn't have, it could be wide receiver, doesn't matter, but put them in the backfield. So like, how are you now? It's going to be real spread out. You got a lot of different options. I had the routes and everything. I just thought it was unguardable, because are you going to have a free safety or not have a free safety? If you have a free safety, okay, all right, now we can do a lot of different things. If you don't, we got one-on-one. I mean, I had the whole thing mapped out, man. It was
I'm sure.
I wish I still had it. I wish I made a copy. I wish I still had it.
That would be amazing. If you ever find it, put it on Instagram.
It's got to be long gone. It's got to be long
gone. So you mentioned you're from Vermont. If you were to use one word to describe a Vermont basketball player, what would it be and why?
I'd say gritty. I think it's it's that same, the people up north really know when you're from Maine or Vermont or Minnesota, you got 6 months of winter, it's really 4 months of getting up, and like, you don't see pavement, sometimes for a little while. And so just really like brick cold. And so I think that toughens you up in a way. So I do think gritty. It is not a huge talent pool, up there. It's just not. And so that kind of benefited me because, I'm not the most athletic. I was always a smart player. I could shoot. I tried hard, but I got to play 3 sports. I mean, I don't know if you come down here in Virginia and I'm from Richmond, I don't think I get to start varsity football, varsity basketball, varsity baseball. It just doesn't, I'm not that good an athlete. And so, I benefited from that. I thought it helped with my range. And I really enjoyed just playing. I would play anything. And that's, I was kind of like one of those kids. I'd play anything, anytime. And I was a little crazy competitor too. So I would say gritty though, because again, it's when you get up and you're getting up early shots and it's 5:30, I mean, it's like 4 degrees out. It's not like 32 degrees out. It's like literally 4 degrees out. I mean, it's brick now. Mm-hmm. So I'd say gritty, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, fast forward just a little bit, you know, your senior year comes, you start writing letters to coaches. I heard you got in contact with a bunch of really, really good people, you know, Bob Knight, Hamilton, that does a really good job at Florida State, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
You know, really, really good coaches. What was the best piece of advice, or did he give you any advice, you know, from those guys? Because, you know, nowadays, being honest, you write letters to certain coaches, you're probably getting no answers, you know, because their schedule's so busy and you have so many middlemen in between them actually getting, you know, the piece of content you wrote for them. Yeah. But to actually get correspondence is amazing, I think. So let's talk about.
I agree. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, being in the position now where you can respond, that's certainly a lesson I took from that, is that even if you're directing an administrative assistant or you're directing your director of ops to respond to those people, I just think if that person is taking the time to write a letter or that person is taking the time to write an email, I'm willing to respond. Now, I'll be very honest, if it's one of those like computer generated ones, I don't always respond to those because you didn't take the time, right? You didn't actually like put your fingers on the keyboard and you know, write my name and put something to it. So being in the position now, I do take that part very seriously. And so yeah, it was nice. And I wouldn't say I got 100% response, right? So I bet you I wrote 35 different letters to different coaches. And, you know, I probably got, I would say like a 30% response. And Bob Knight, again, maybe it's a secretary writing back, but still they had a secretary write back. And so, you know, that was cool. It showed me a little bit about who he is. And you know, the message I really got back was basically, look, you can go two ways here. You can play, you know, at whatever level you can play at. And so that's one way to become a coach. And the other way is become a manager. And the suggestion was at a higher level than what you can play, which that like clicked to me, because I do think I could have done it, but my options were limited. I was at best a Division III player. I don't even know what my impact would have been if I went that route, because I know who I am athletically. But, you know, my dad drove me 10 hours there and back to Allegheny College in Western Pennsylvania. And we sat down and met with the coach, and it wasn't the feel for me. You know, college, it was 1,000 people, and I had come from a really small town. My high school was only 400. So I just that wasn't what I was looking for, even playing. And so my goal wasn't to just play, right? It was to become a coach. So what's a better route here? And so the response I got from Sherman Dillard at JMU was the same. It was like, if you want to be a part of this, you know, I'll let you. A guy named Bill Old was down here. He had reached out to me and we had spoken. I ended up choosing James Madison, and Bill Old immediately got a job as soon as I got there. So it was like, yep, here, I'm leaving. This is the new guy. And Ben D'Alessandro was his name. And so it was like, it ended up being a really perfect scenario for me. And I know I'm at James Madison now. I know I'm coaching. It's great. But like, regardless of that, I ended up here. I still think it prepared me and got me prepared enough to make the leap to coach basketball wherever. And you know, it was perfect. But that's what ended up really clicking, was like, be a manager at a higher level than what you can play, or play and use that as your connection. And so I'm glad I chose what I chose. But I had a great experience, and the weird, unique thing about it was we had at least one assistant coach leave every year of my 4 years. So it was perfect. It was like revolving door. It wasn't great for the program, of course, but it was perfect for me. And now I had somebody else, you know, down in Atlanta that I was connected to. And then the next year and those guys are all doing great things right now in life. And so, you know, cool connections. But it was nice to get the responses. You know, I did think about going to Indiana just because of Bobby Knight, but I think it worked out because how many 18-year-old, 19-year-old kids want to be a manager for Bobby Knight? I mean, it's probably 75, right? And for Sherman Dillard at James Madison, it wasn't 75. It was like I had to fight off 2 or 3. And so that's what it got me, where I had a lot of responsibility almost as a sophomore. And I don't know if I would have had that at Indiana or a bigger school where it was a little bit more in demand. So it really did work out well.
You mentioned Coach Sherman Dillard, head coach at James Madison, I think a former pro ball player too. Obviously somebody had a great impact on you, but you're getting to see this guy every day. Every day you're getting to see stuff on the court. You're getting to see stuff behind the scenes. Give me one thing that stood out. One thing that you like, when I become a coach, I'm going to do that. Or when I'm going to be a coach, I'm not going to do that. Or even if it's a funny story, but, tell me. And I'm sure there are a bunch of them.
No, I got a million of them. No, I learned a lot from him. And, I think, he would be the first to tell you, he wasn't as successful as he wanted to be. He ended up getting let go here, I think a year, maybe 2 years after I left. So I know, we all go through that as coaches, I think one point in time or another. But I thought Sherman was great. And what I really appreciated about him, was one conversation. Okay. So, we had a guy on the team, and, he's a wonderful person. I've still been connected with him now. His name's Ron Anderson. And Ron Anderson transferred from NC State, and he was, couldn't be more athletic. The dunk contest, I thought that was the best dunk contest ever with Vince Carter, right? Where he did the spin and he dunked it. He hung his arm in the rim, right? This was like 2000, 2001. It was like right when Vince had come out of college. And the next day, Ron's like, I can do that. And we're like, whatever, Ron, you can't do that, right? And he did it. He did all the dunks that Vince did. And we were like, oh, all right, like what's going on here, But Ron just, it was one of those players. He was very talented, but couldn't get out of his own way, a little immature, stuff like that. So I picked Coach Dillard up from the airport one night late, and I can't remember what the circumstance was. He was coming back from recruiting. We have an airport at JMU. It's very small. So I remember picking up his car, I believe it was, and picking him up, driving him back to his house. This was 11:30 at night. And Ron was just, like some players do, they were just testing him. Ron was testing him, and it was like, do we suspend him? Do we, all those decisions a head coach has to make. And he didn't have to share one word about that situation, but it was clearly on his mind. But the 15-minute drive from the airport to his house, it was like a conversation about why he does have to suspend him, what this lesson is going to teach him, what he hopes to get from it. And it could have been 2 words. It could have been, I got to make a phone call, man. It was, he like let me in. And that's just a lesson I've learned, and I really appreciated it, but it's a lesson I learned, with the people around me now. That was like my most memorable moment with him, was just like a really genuine conversation and letting me into why he's going to make that decision. This is before he made it. So it's like, I could have called Ron as soon as I, got out of the car and spilled the beans. Obviously I didn't, but there's one thing we always joked about too, and this is what not to do. I'll never do this, but he used to, we always had a pretty good fan base, and in big moments, right, he would get the crowd going. He would be up like this. He would be putting his arms up, and I swear every time he did that, the other team was going to bang a 3. And it was like, as soon as he started doing it, I was like hitting the other manager, like, oh, here we go. And sure enough, like bang. And it's just like, so no, I will never do that. It's one thing I learned from Coach Dillard. I will never be doing this as much as I want to sometimes, as much as I want to. The karma is going to get you. But Coach Dill did a lot for me, and really tried to keep me there as a manager. He offered me like $12,000 to be a GA when I was leaving. And I had a lot of respect for him. I just really wanted to get a new experience. I didn't want to have just JMU. And so, I was able to go, to Evansville after that. And I did appreciate him trying, but certainly he did his best.
Just to backtrack a little bit, you mentioned, you start your job as a manager. I always say to people that you must learn to follow effectively before you can lead. So, I was a student assistant first when I started out. Not the most glamorous job. I'll tell you that much. Wasn't the glitz and glamour you see on television and DVD series and stuff like that. So it's tough. It's gonna test your fortitude. But you get to get your hands dirty. The nitty-gritty of a program. You get to really see what it's all about. A lot of laundry. I'll tell you that much. A lot of laundry. But just tell me a little bit more about that time. Sure. And what you gained from that in regards to like, okay, this is embedded in me, like that took you to that next step.
Well, yeah, I just wrote that down, by the way. Learn to follow before you learn. That's good stuff, by the way. That might be coming out of my mouth today. But no, like I've always, and this is what I feel like is missed a little bit in this world right now. Is like, you got to work really hard if you want to get where you want to go. And everybody, because of whatever, it just seems like everybody thinks they can be on a fast track or skip steps. And it's like, just work real hard and it'll be appreciated. And so, for me, yeah, I had a million stories, and I'll tell you a couple, but it's like, yeah, I just worked. It was like from my freshman year on, it was like, I'm right in the office every day. For as long as I could be in the office till the coaches left. It was like, I'm just in there. And if you wanted me to do something, I'm doing it. If you didn't, I'm just sitting there. I'll be, maybe I could watch film with you. Hey, can I stick my head in here? How do you do this? Like, and I tried not to be annoying with it. Right. But the more you're around, the more it's like, hey, will you go grab me a coffee? Yeah, no problem. And you know what? I had that coffee back in 2.5 minutes, and you might give me something else to do because I did that so well and so efficiently. And so, you just gain little responsibilities. Hey, can you chop this film up? Back then it was like VHS to VHS, and the more you did it, the better you got. And the more, all those things. And so, I feel like it doesn't, in my experience, it doesn't really exist anymore. Right. And I wasn't getting paid a dime. Now most manager situations, it's like you get $11 an hour. You can only work a certain amount of hours and all this. And it's like, yeah, but you're taking away opportunities for kids, I think, to prove how hard they want to work. But yeah, it's a humbling thing. It's a humbling thing, man. And on my staff, I have a guy, Ian Caskell, and Ian played at JMU for my 4 years. So he was a player when I was a manager. And so, there was guys in my career that certainly treated me like a manager, right? But he never did. He was like one of my friends as we went through this thing. But he knows more than anybody. I mean, I can remember we were in Europe. We did a Europe trip. And we had these bags, everybody's got a loop now. We had these bags. It was like kind of like mesh bags where all their gear was in there. And we could not, for the life of me and this other manager, we could not find a laundromat. We just couldn't find one. And it's like, I can't remember if we were in Paris or Milan. I can't remember. It was like, we have to get this done. It's like 10 o'clock at night. We can't find a laundromat anywhere. We don't speak the language, but like tomorrow, the gear's got to be ready to go. So I remember being in the shower with soap, washing the mesh bags and trying to wring them out, and then putting them outside and trying to spread them out, man. It's like, we got it done.
Equity in the pledge.
But I mean, think about that, right? And it's like, how many people are willing to do that? Like, how many people? There's not that many. And it's like, did Sherman Dillard know I was doing that? No, but the next day the gear, it wasn't like, oh, the gear's not washed, and so like that's no one cares how you get it done, but it's got to be done. And so, all right, like, and that's a story. I mean, me and Steve Loader are the two guys that probably ever know that until I tell the story. And so, but that's what I would give is like, man, it's hard. And, I do think that's why your quote, what you just said, hit me, because it's like, yeah, you got to do all this work before you can get in a position to lead. And that's okay. Like, it's fine. Put your work in whatever it is. And so I think you can use that. You can use that as a manager, right? You can use that as a director of ops. You can use that as an assistant coach who has not that much responsibility. You can use that as an associate head coach. You can use that as a recruiting coordinator. You can use that as I'm at Shaw University, and at this level, I'm at whatever. I'm at UConn as an assistant coach. Like, you can use it I think in any way. It's just like, no, I'm going to put my head down and work really hard. And because, it's so easy to start comparing, right? If you're an assistant coach at Ryder, right? And it's, well, they get paid more at such and such. Well, who cares? Like, this is where you are right now. This is what you're getting paid. This is what your responsibilities are. Like, if you got 3 responsibilities, do those as well as you possibly can. And then sit around the office a little bit and maybe you get a couple more. Okay. Like this, I'll tell you what, man, this day and age with COVID and Zooms, man, the office requirement is just different now than when I was first getting into it. But I'm not trying to be that guy. Like, old times were tougher. Yeah. Okay. But no, I think the art of hard work is still brings a lot of value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned, you got your first big break at Evansville. Dobo, if I remember correct?
Yeah.
Right.
It was Dobo.
Okay. So very demanding job. I think that, I want to give a shout out to my friend, Stephen Peretta, Harry Peretta's son. He's with us now at FDU. Yep. And, he's a grad assistant here. There's a lot of things that they do. A lot of things that, you do that. Like I always say, it's like air. You don't appreciate it till you can't breathe. And it's just like, no one appreciates the bus until the bus is not here. No one appreciates the food until the food's not there. And, Dobos do a lot behind the scenes, the scheduling, making sure the buses are there on time, all that type of stuff. It can be a tough job. It can be a tough job. But I guess just tell me about that time. What you get from that?
Well, I'll tell you what, before I do, what blows my mind really sometimes is the amount of work the Dobo has to do and what their salary is comparatively to like the assistant coaches. Sometimes it's like, why is that such an undervalued job? Right? Like, anyway, but I don't know. And I think the ops we have right now, Alex Danis, I'll shout her. I think she is the best ops I've ever had. I mean, she's incredible, man. She could be an ops anywhere in the country, and don't come for her, anybody. Okay. I need her for a couple more years. But no, Evansville was like a perfect experience for me at that stage because, I was a manager. I was still coming out of college. I still had some immaturities to me. But what that experience did, it really got me professional over time. It took me a second. And, the setup for this was, I called one of the coaches that was at JMU my junior year, Tom Saboro, and he said, hey, this guy Murph at Evansville, he's looking for like an ops secretary. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I want to get in, man. Evansville is in Missouri Valley. Like, that's an awesome basketball league. And so I called Murph and he said, look, I think I'm going to have to hire a secretary. Would you come out here for free and I'll give you the title? And I was like, yep. Like, you want me to come right now? And he's like, yeah. So I packed my car. It was like literally packed my car, called my parents. I said, this is what I'm doing. My mom was like, wait, what? But it was like, I don't care, man. I want my foot in the door, because I just don't think you get opportunities to do that very often. And it was around the time, it was 2003. It was around the time some people had director of ops, some people didn't. It was mainly that third assistant coach did a lot of that stuff at that time. But we got out there, and Steve Murfeld was the head coach, and he's the awesome coach, man. He was at Hampton when they beat Iowa State. That was a 15-2, and he was the guy they lifted up. And he's like, he's still on like commercials now for the NCAA tournament. And I tell him he should be getting some sort of like pay, he's an advertisement for NCAA tournament. So, but Murph was awesome. And he was a little bit of like a micromanager, but I needed that. And it was really helpful because, I mean, I'm talking to the point, Christian, he would have your to-do list every Monday. So he would have, I had 27 different things, whereas the assistants maybe had 6. Now theirs were a little bit more important, but it was like, hey, do this, and that I needed that. If I didn't have that, I don't know where I would, I didn't know exactly what to do, what I had to do. And so that part was perfect for me. And so that's how I work to this day. I mean, I have a to-do list right here. I do it every day. And it's like, I think he really shaped me with that. And so, it was everything. And he helped me out a lot. I had to supervise breakfast and supervise dinner. That's how I ate. He talked to one of the assistant ADs who gave me basically a spare bedroom for $100 a month. We just figured it out, but man, he didn't care at that time. I lived in the office. I mean, I was in the office till 10 o'clock at night, almost every night. And that was awesome for me. Like that time, when I look back on that time, it was really fun. And those guys to this day, those 2 assistant coaches, Kareem Richardson, who's now an assistant coach at Clemson, on the men's side still. I mean, he shaped me. Jason Zimmerman is the head coach at Emory down in Atlanta. And those 2 guys took care of me. I mean, fed me, man, I mean, took care of me in every way. And so it was a lot of work, but I loved every second of it. And I really got to learn a whole lot. I mean, Evansville at that time is not a huge operation. It didn't have different stat. It was just, they were piecing it together. So, Murph would come in and say, hey, look, I need you to go over the budget. And it was like, I don't know at all what I'm doing, but it was like, all right, let me dive in this 4 or 5 hours and like, let's figure this out. And so like, it really, really, really shaped me. And I'm glad, I'm really, really appreciative for it. And I'm glad I did it. And so it was great, man. Murph was great for me.
So you become an assistant there, correct?
Yep.
So you move over that one seat. And like I always tell people, when you go from there, one over, it hit different. It's just a whole nother beast out there. New responsibilities. Tell me about that time, shift in position, first time being an assistant coach. So, luckily you had that time before to really groom you, but then you got to grow into something else. So just tell me about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a totally different, it's a huge shift. And you put it right. It's a huge difference, even though it doesn't seem like it. So you're going from all these logistical things and really, of course, basketball, but like you have no basketball responsibilities. It doesn't, you're in the meetings, but as an ops, your win is like when you're on the bus and you're 5 minutes from home and the road trip's completed and you didn't screw anything up. Like that's your win. But as an assistant, there was 2 moments in my life professionally that like, I really like gave the fist pump, and that was one of them where it was like, I made it. Because I think it's for a 5'8", 5'9" white guy, didn't really play college basketball, manager. I just think those opportunities to be an assistant coach, Missouri Valley at that time, they were 6th or 7th in the country as far as the league. I mean, it was Creighton, We had one year we went 4 teams: Creighton, Wichita State, Bradley, and Northern Iowa all went to the tournament. 4 teams. I'm talking about 4 teams in Missouri Valley. And so, it was a fist bump. The second is obviously when I got this job, but for me, it was a real shift of gears here. And so I had knowledge, but okay, you got to put a scout together. All right. The way Murph did it, pregame, 45 minutes to go, you're running through the personnel, you're doing the offensive keys, you're doing the defensive keys. And so to me, it was a huge challenge. I got a picture in my office right now. My very first scout was Purdue, and they were a little bit down. We played them at home and we beat them. And I still got a picture of it because that was okay. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. I can't believe they gave me the Purdue scout. I can't believe it. I mean, why would you do that? Why in the world would you give me the Purdue? So, but no, it was just that, man. And again, I wasn't probably prepared, but he knew I was going to work my tail off at it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's why he gave it to me. And it's funny how it happened. I went up after 2 years of an ops. I went up to interview at Wright State for an ops job. And it was a salary. It was $30,000. At Evansville, I wasn't getting anything. I started grad school. They were trying to give me different. It was $6,000 here, stuff. But Paul Biancardi was up there and he offered me the job. And it was okay. But I had heard a couple of things about Biancardi getting in trouble for what he did at Ohio State so I was a little reluctant. And I came back to Murphy. He said, well, what do you need to stay? I said, just tell me you're going to hire me if somebody leaves. That's all I need. I don't need a raise. I don't care, man. I just want to be an assistant coach. And sure enough, that September, one of our assistants had to take a leave, and that's how I got it. But, again, it's different stages. I wasn't really ready to be a director of ops at that level, but okay, I'm there. I'm going to work my tail off to figure it out. I wasn't really ready to be an assistant coach at that level, but it's I'm here. I'm going to work my tail off. And the one thing I think is lost sometimes these days is ask people for help. So if I didn't ask Kareem and Jay, hey, what they're really good at shooting behind ball screens. Okay. Well, all right. So we got a hedge, we got a trap. We're not going to go under. That's that little thing, but they're giving me knowledge of they do this, so we should do this. They do this, so we should do this. But if I didn't ask and I pretended I knew it all, or I pretended I was so ready for this, I wouldn't have succeeded. And that's what I think younger assistants, right? You don't have to know everything. I tell my staff this all the time. Don't pretend you know everything. Go ask, with that recruit, what are other high school coaches saying about that kid? So I just think that's part of it. If you're working really hard and you're being vulnerable and asking people, if you don't know, I just think that's a huge, it can be a huge advantage for you as you're learning and growing, because we don't know it. I don't know everything right now. I've been a head coach. This is my 6th year. I got challenges this year that I've never experienced. So if I don't work hard or I don't ask questions, how am I going to get better? How am I going to grow through that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then you head back to your alma mater, going back home, lofty expectations in regards to performance. Sometimes that can be a bit heavy. Why come back? Because I'm sure you could have been in different avenues and things like that. But sometimes it's just a lot. So why come back home?
Yeah, I mean, it was all Kenny Brooks. Kenny was an assistant on the men's side for 3 years, my freshman, sophomore, junior year. And so I had known him. He had known how hard I worked as a manager, right? It comes full circle here. So I had written him when I was at Evansville. I wrote him a note probably every year, just saying hey, I think you're doing awesome. He had flipped to the women's side. He had gotten a head job. They were doing pretty well. They'd beaten ODU, which back then was you don't beat ODU at anything. And so I wrote him a couple notes, and he called me one day after my 2nd year at Evansville. And he basically said, what do you think about coaching women's basketball? Have you ever thought about this? And I said, no, I didn't. And we talked for an hour and a half, maybe. And he really kind of reeled me into the idea. And I love JMU. I wanted to come back to JMU. Evansville was awesome, but it's like where I want to live, where I want to start my family. And so he basically recruited me back. And so, but same thing, I wasn't prepared. I had no women's basketball recruiting connections. I had no idea the level of play, really. I mean, I really didn't. You can watch it on TV. It doesn't mean, when you go out to an AAU tournament, like this was my first, so I get back, he hires me July 6th. So I get there, it's the dead period. And the first tournament's USJN in DC, which is like, back then was like, it was it. And so we get there and I'm with Jackie Carson. It was Jackie Smith at the time. Now she's the head coach at Furman. And she's like, hey, go over there, watch Maryland Hurricanes, I'm like, okay. So I go over there and I'm watching Caroline Doty. Okay. And so I come back to Jackie and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. There's this kid over there, Doty. I don't know if she's all that. Like, and she looked at me like,
are you serious?
It was just one of those moments like, all right, so like step back, man. You don't know what's going on. Like sit at a game and talk to people, right? Sit at a game and get a feel for what's going on. But you see, I didn't know the level of, because again, and there's no offense to the women's game. It's like, that's one of the best players in the country. But I just come from men, and you're watching like I recruited Robbie Hummel, who went to Purdue. Like Caroline Doty is whatever size, 6'1" or 6'2". I don't even know, 6 foot. And Robbie Hummel's 6'8". And it's like it was hard for me to make that adjustment. So I just, all right, you got to plug in here and really, really study. But again, Jackie helped me through that. At the time, we had an assistant, Nikki Davis, who helped me through that. And Kenny really helped me through that. I would bring him videos. And like the first couple of videos I brought him, he was like, look, man, here's one of our recruits we signed. Her name's Dawn Evans. Watch this video, right? Like, and it was like, okay, but like people are willing to help, as long as you're listening to them and getting better from it, people are willing to help. And so, I love this place. Obviously I've been here since then, but it's the same thing we talked about, right? It's I'm a third assistant. I'm making 40 grand. I'm happy as heck. But I'm making 40 grand, and it's like, I'm going to dig in. I'm going to make Courtney Hamner better. I'm going to make Kiera Francisco better. Any opportunity I got, I might not have Dawn Evans, who's our best player. I might not have Tamara Young, who was our best player, but like I got Melissa Bumpus, right? And no one knows her name, but like I got Melissa. Let me get Melissa better so she's ready to play. And so like I just made my mark that way. And slowly then Nikki left, he moved me up to second assistant. Jackie ended up going to Furman, we ended up just climbing up that way. And again, you do your job as well as you can do your job. And I think people appreciate how hard you work. And so similar thing happened, right? When Kenny took Virginia Tech, I had to earn that. They weren't just handing me the keys. It was like, you got to interview. And so we interviewed and Jeff Bourne made me the head coach. So but if I wasn't working my tail off at that, whatever stage it is, I think you're not ready for that opportunity when it comes, when somebody said, well, yeah, Sean hasn't been working hard at that. It's like, no, Sean's been working his tail off, making 40 grand and, making Melissa Bumpus better or whoever. So, to me, it's, you got to really work where you are. That's one thing I've always really believed in.
Yeah. You once said, I want to get this quote right. I got to see Kenny Brooks every day. He was up close and personal, my bar. I take pride in getting back up there and exceeding that bar, but at least staying right there. I have a saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built. What's one thing you do every day with your players or your coaches that you feel that really helps build your foundation strong and it gives you an opportunity over the course of time to elevate to another level?
Yeah, I just think lead by example, right? With working hard. And I think, look, every year I appreciate Kenny Brooks more. Okay. Because every year you realize how hard it is to like reload. I mean, you can have a special group, right? You can be 25-4, but like they're going to leave. And assistants are going to leave, right? And so all this time you've put into Ashley Langford, right? All this time you put into Kamaya Small as a player, right? They're going to leave because this is not, it's college. You got 4 years. So every single year, it's like, I appreciate that fine wine more, right? Of that, what Kenny did and how he did it. So for me, the only thing I know how to do is show up and keep working hard and lead by example in that sense. And so, I know as a head coach, you can set your staff in motion. You can show up at noon with the practice plan ready. Like, to me, that's not who I am, right? And I'm not, I'm just not that. Like, I'm going to work. I'm going to work my tail off every day. And I think your staff sees that. I think your players see that. And I'm a believer, and a little old school, I'm like always being around. And I really, really believe that, because it might be that one opportunity, right, where your ninth best player has something happen to her, and she finds herself walking into the office. Maybe it's 6:04, and you're there, right? And now you can take that moment, whatever she's going through is fresh and hot. And so it's like, I'm here, I'm ready. Like, let's talk about it, versus, man, nobody's here. Mm-hmm. All right. So now she's going to outlet that information or that feeling to somebody else. And we've missed an opportunity to be there for her. And so, that's something that's important. Now, I'm not here till 9 o'clock. I had a family. I got 2 kids. I can't, but it's, I'm trying to max out as much as you can every day. And I think that's like, that's a trait that I think, you want as a player too, right? If you're early to practice, you're late, you stay late after practice, during practice, you're working your tail off. People are naturally going to gravitate to that and idolize that, because, like, man, Peyton McDaniel, man, she works her tail off every day. And so, like, that's the only thing I really know how to do, right? Is just lead by example and be all in every day. And Mike Neighbors always has great quotes, but I was at Villa 7 a long time ago, and he was doing the first 100 days. That was one thing they did. Like a coach that just got a head coaching job, they chronicle their first 100 days. I thought it was like one of the best things for aspiring head coaches to hear, because it's crazy stuff. Like, it's the amount of stuff that happens in the first 100 days is insane. But one thing he said, as a head coach, you can walk around pissed off every day if you want to, because there's always something, right? There's always, like, you got a player that just did this, you got to deal with that. You got a staff member that was late for this, or man, or you lost this recruiting kid or whatever, man. But you can get pissed off and walk around pissed off every day if you want. So don't, right? Like, we're coaching basketball. We get paid a good amount of money to coach basketball and lead young women, and not just young women, but lead staffs too. And so, like, that's what you said one thing, that's it. Just showing up and just trying to be the example every day for your staff and your players and your support staff. Mm-hmm. Right. If my academic coordinator comes in and I'm in a mood and I'm snapping at her, like, that's not a good example. That's not a good example for anybody. So,
yeah. GMU holds a special spot in your heart. You're a former alum. You said it's a little bit different. Everybody focuses on the good. I think it's real easy for us to sit here and focus on the good and the positive things. But, like my mom used to say to me, if you believe in a heaven, you better best to hell. Definitely a hell.
Yeah.
So there have been some tough days that we talked about a little bit that have helped you get to the point that you are right now. Tested your resolve in regards to this, something that you really wanted to do. Your love for the game has brought you to this point. So tell me one tough moment that pushed you to the brink. It could have been at GMU. It could have been at Evansville. One moment that you were like, I don't know if this is for me. What you learned from that moment?
That's a great question. That's a great question. It's a great question. I'll give you this, because I'm gonna tell you what I didn't pick, because for me, like, was it? I heard Tom Brady and Steph Curry have this thing called like the inferiority complex, where they feel like they don't really, like, they didn't belong, and the only thing that got them here was their hard work, right? So they're not like, and I know it's their own motivation, right? It's whatever gets them going, but it's like, just in the back of their mind continues to push them. Whereas like maybe a Carmelo is just more gifted and it just always come natural to him. And I know that's disrespectful to Carmelo, because I'm sure he's worked really hard at this, but I've had plenty of moments like that. And so the one that really, it just sticks out in my mind was, it was my second year, and we had a rocky non-conference. We were 4-7 non-conference. We had just lost the prior year. We had just lost an amazing player, Precious Hall. And it took us a second to get it. We were a little young, but we were 4-7, and we worked and we worked and we worked and we worked. And we ended up going 16-2 in the league. And that was like, okay, all right, we did all this. So we get to the conference tournament and we beat Charleston in the first round. And then in the semifinal against Elon, which they had lost a ton as well. And they still had one kid that was really good, Shea Burnett. But they killed us. I mean, they killed us. And it was like, I couldn't do anything. There was nothing I did that worked. It was a spread pick and roll, and we just could not play it right. And part of it, they were playing really well, but like, it made me feel so like I don't belong here doing this at all. Cause it's like everything I did didn't work. And it was like, we're unprepared and but like, and we ended up having a good run. The WNT, it was fine. Right. But like that moment and those probably 4 days afterwards, I mean, it's like, that's the hell. That's the hell, man. Is like, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? Like, this is not, you can't coach. Like, you don't know what's going on. And like, I think those really dark moments allow you to grow, right? If everything just rolls, you're not growing, man. That's easy. That's so easy. Those dark moments help you coach. And so because you have to get through it. What's your choice? Are you going to quit? Like me, I could quit, of course. Right. So it's your dark moment where you really hit that. To me, was like a bottom, because we didn't lose by 7. It was like, we got trounced in the semis against a team that wasn't that much better than us. It was like, and it was not our day, but that's the stuff that really motivates me to keep pushing and getting better. And we've had plenty of great moments. But I've had those losses, man, where you're just crushed in a big moment. Like, everybody lose a regular season game that you shouldn't or whatever. And but like, man, when it's time, like, we're going to win a championship. No, we're not, no, we're not. Elon was wrong, and they ended up winning, which was great, but good for them. But it was one of those. And so, I've had a couple of those, man, where it just doesn't make, it's great as a coach to feel like, hey, this isn't working. Let me put this person. Oh, that worked. Like, great plan. You were prepared. It worked. It's great. It's awesome. But like, there's games where you're making moves and you're just swinging and missing. And one of I look back on it now, but we had Maryland at home 2 years ago. And I know I'm telling stories now, but they were number 8 in the country. It was actually Wusu's freshman year, and I thought we could get them because we were really good, and they were like a little young. And man, we were going. They couldn't guard us for a while, so we start the fourth quarter. We're up 16 points to start the fourth. Okay, we run a play to start the fourth quarter. It's like a loop around. We catch it, kick it to our shooter in the corner. We're up 19. 9:48 to go in the fourth quarter. What could you do? There's nothing that can go wrong. There's nothing. And we end up losing by 2 on a game winner by a Wusu. And it's like, I mean, you know what? And Kenny Brooks is a big mentor of mine. We don't talk every night, that sort of thing. But he called me after that game and said, like, look, man, like, you're a good coach. Like, relax. Like, you don't, like, don't go dark on us. And I really appreciate like a moment like that, right? Because it's like we just lost a 19-point lead. Like, I could have done anything else and it would have worked. I tried this, didn't work. I tried this, didn't work. But like, in the end, it's like I think they just toughen you, right? They give you calluses, and it's like, that's okay. I don't ever want to lose, but you're going to. And so like, you got to learn from it. So that one hurt.
Yeah. That was a good one, Coach. That definitely was a good one. Thank God for Kenny Brooks. He was there for you. Your time for you. I'll tell you that much.
Always, man. Always.
JMU, hotbed for talent. Also a hotbed for coaches. You've had some very good assistants that have moved on to head coaching jobs. You have Bridget, which is at Northeastern. You have Ashley Langford, who's doing a great job at Stony Brook in her first year. Coaches, I think, will like retention. They would like to, keep their people. But as a team thrives, so will opportunities open for assistants to step out on their own and do their own thing. How important is it for you to have longevity at the coaching position? Or maybe it's like, how do you prepare these kids? Because I'm sure that staff members come to you and say, hey, coach, my long-term goal is to be a head coach, So, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. How do you prepare those guys that really want to do it on the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the goal, right? And I joked about my ops earlier, but like, nothing would make me happier to help her achieve whatever she wants to achieve at the highest level of it. So, Ashley was the most recent case, and Ashley said, came here, and I said, like, yeah, give me 3 or 4. I think you got a great opportunity to be a head coach. And so, that to me is important. And I think it's a testament to what we're doing. It's a testament to how hard she worked that she was able to get that opportunity. And so, like, I will lose an assistant to becoming a head coach every day of the week. I think that's an awesome thing for your program. I think that's an awesome thing for the assistant that got it. And so for me, that's like, I'm nothing but happy about that. We've had turnover here. Bridget went to Pitt before she went up there to Northeastern. But I knew she was going to be a head coach. I mean, she's always had that. She's had that energy. And so she's doing a really good job up there. So, I think, if you want to, I want to push you there. If your goal is to be a high major assistant coach, I'll push you there. So it's not for me to sit here and have the same assistants for 8 years. I don't want that. I think that's I know that would make my life easier, but that's not what I'm here to do. Right? I think 3 years is a good minimum for most people. Because I think you can really get your roots in, recruiting wise. I think it's hard to come in 1 year and do things. I think it's hard to build genuine relationships in a year. You can start it, but I think 3 years is a good minimum for most assistant coaches to like really commit to where they are for 3 years. Now if something happens, yeah, it's fine. But I just think that's a good idea of a minimum, but I'm all for it, man. I really want, we have an assistant here, Sam Prahalis, who played Ohio State and pro for a long time. And that's what drew her here. It was like, can I do this and become a head coach? And I said, like, you can, you got to work, but you can, right? So like, you got to come in here and put in the work and get some recruits and build these relationships, and we got to win, but you can. And so like, it's okay. It's just like a player wanting to be a pro, to me. And it's like, I'll help develop you and we can have conversations about why I'm making this decision and all that. But I'd rather that. It's like personally, I'd rather have a player that wants to be a pro than a player that's just coming to college to play basketball, right? They got bigger goals. I think a little extra motivation to be great.
Okay. Awesome, coach. Wins and losses can't be the barometer of success. Tell me the hardest team you had to coach throughout your tenure at JMU, and what made it somewhat, for lack of better terms, difficult to get the max out of them? Because I like we mentioned before, there's a lot of good. Not saying that team wasn't good, because I'm sure they had talent, but you were like, sometimes you look at things and reflect months later and say, you know what, I should have tapped that button. That button was the button that might have got more from those guys. Yeah. So
I think I'm in it right now. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because of our record. We've had so much change this year, and everybody has. And, I just read an article on UConn. It's like everybody's going through different challenges this year. And I think more than usual. I think injuries, I think COVID, when no one thought COVID was coming back around. But I do think, I think this team has been my biggest challenge, just because not even wins or losses, but the max of how we're playing and the togetherness is that's what I feel like is just a constant challenge. And you know what, I might be guilty. I might be saying that every year. If you ask me in February of every year, I might be like, nah, I got to get more out of this team right here. But I do I thought my first year we maxed out. I thought my second year, other than the semifinal game we talked about, I thought we maxed out. I mean, we're 4-7. We ended up going 16-2. My third year, I thought we were as good a team, man. I thought we were awesome. I thought overachieved. And then my fourth year, I thought we were 25-4 going into the COVID shutdown. And so, last year was different. I'd throw that thing out, man. Last year was crazy with COVID, and it's like, I don't even know what that was. I don't even know what happened last year. But this year, to me, it's like we didn't have an official pause, but we've had 6 kids get it. We've had almost everybody on staff get it at different times. So it's the moving parts has been a huge challenge. And it's hurt the consistency of what we are. And that's not unique to other teams, but it's been a challenge, and it's challenged me, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, there'll be another challenge next year. But yeah, I would say this year, maybe it's because it's on my mind, Christian.
I don't know. So you're the head coach now at JMU. So it's July.
Yep.
You're in the gym. We're in Chicago, Nike Nationals. You're there with your booklet. You're looking for players. What catches your eye? What's the thing that you're like, oh, I seen this, so I got to have this kid?
Passion, like genuine passion. And then not just that, okay? Like, you can't be unathletic and show me passion and you get a scholarship or something. But I just feel like, early in my career, I thought you could kind of bring that out of kids. And I don't. I think it's a very natural thing. I think if you show emotion and positive emotion and passion, I think everything else will be okay, because it's fueling you. If you're a passionate person, and I think you're going to work hard. I think you're going to enjoy moments. I think you're going to, when it's a practice in February 5th, you're still going to have passion. It's not going to bleed out. So I do think it's hard for some kids too, man. Right? How many games are they playing all summer? Playing 20 games, or it's hard to have passion all the time. And so, I really like that. That's you said one thing. That's my one thing. But yeah, I'd like some athleticism. I'd like some soft hands that can shoot. But passion. I think passion comes with communication too, right? You're not going to be passionate and a bad communicator. Yeah. So I think it's all related to that.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold you too much longer, Coach. Not going to hold you too much longer. Let's go with this one. All right, so you can only be one. Great at X's and O's, so, we're down by 1. The ball's on the sideline. You getting one off. You Brad Stevens. You can get it off. We're getting a look. We're getting a legitimate look. Yeah. But communication-wise, you're kind of like,
okay.
Or motivational-wise, like, not that you're a bad person, but you're kind of bland. You're kind of, or you're Denzel, remember the Titans. You're that guy. You're the pumping on your chest, and the kids are ready to run through the brick wall for you. But down by 1, you're not that guy. We need a press break, Coach.
Yeah.
You're not that guy.
Right.
That's not you. So choose one. Which one are you and why? If you could choose, which one?
I'm the Denzel. Okay. Because I think if you can get your team to play really, really hard, and they're bought in and they'll run through the wall, I don't think you're in too many down one games. I think you're going to be, if you're playing that hard and that together and they really eat it up. I really do. I think players make plays. And I think if, whatever you draw up, if you have a kid like Precious Hall, she made me look so good so many times just because she can make a shot. I mean, this kid had 46 at Rutgers. Like that ain't X's and O's, man. Like, it's really them. And if you can get them to really want to play for you and each other, I think that's a win over X's and O's.
Mm-hmm. If you can give a young coach one piece of advice, what would it be and why? So I'm walking into the gym for the first time at GMU. I'm your assistant coach, and you could tell the palms are sweaty. Like life is coming at me fast, real fast. Yep. We're about to step on the floor. You say, Christian, this is going to change your life. Boom, here it is.
Wow,
what is it, coach?
I don't know if I can change your life with it, but no, man. To me, it's like it's all about hard work, right? So I can't say go work hard. That's not what I'm going to tell you, but it's all about hard work. So in practice, I think you can be a huge positive influence in practice. It doesn't mean you're not coaching, right? But it's how you coach, right? It's I see so many assistants just being negative because it's like, oh, we didn't close out right, or it's like, yeah, man, but like, what is that doing for Peyton McDaniel down here? It's not helping her close out. So like, be a positive influence, right? And so part of that is bringing energy. Part of that is connecting with the kids. Part of that is learning how they best, coach. It's to me, it's like that. So I'll give you an example. Like one year we had just a different team, and this was with Kenny, and I was an assistant, and it was just like there wasn't the bounce. It wasn't like a positivity. I don't know why. It wasn't Kenny's fault. But so I went around, I was like, hey, let's get it we'll have a positive team. So when it goes to that negative place, we'll be responsible for bringing up practice. So, one of the best players I thought would be good at it. So it was like, we had Jazz Gwathmey was one of the kids. Toya Jiggets was one of the kids, Angela Mickens. And so we had this like positive team. And it was like, we all kind of looked at each other because like Kenny would get after him as he should. But it was like Kenny was getting after him. It would get quiet and we'd be all looking at each other like, ready, let's go. And like, he didn't tell me to do that. Right. And it was like, that helped our team. It's what our team needed. And so like, I'm a big believer in that. That's how I got to where I am, is like being positive, man, having a positive outlook on what we get to do every day. I think it's just so simple. And it's not easy because you're going to have moods and you're going to have stuff going on in your life that, your significant other is going to be, mad at you because you got to watch film all the time, whatever. But like, all right, you got 2 hours, just like a player, like, let's go, man, bring some positive energy here. Let's get after this thing. And so, I'd say positive energy.
Yeah. What can we expect to see from this team? We're not talking about wins and losses. When we watch JMU, when I come to the game for the first time and see you guys play, in any year, this year, another year, whatever, what am I going to see?
I hope hopefully a group that's very passionate. Like I'm a kind of a believer that like, and this is not to, I don't take it the wrong way, like it's putting down women's basketball, but I think like a fan, if you're a fan and you go watch LeBron play, you're going to watch something that you can't do, right? LeBron's going to do something that you can't do. And that's what the intrigue is like, well, I can't do that. But if I'm a 35-year-old, 6'4" guy that plays pickup all the time, right, I could probably dunk. There's no a whole lot of dunks in women's basketball. So like, why am I watching women's basketball? And for me, it's the connection, the emotional connection. And I think that's what I think brings fans to our place, is like, we show passion, positive energy, passion. And so sure, record, I don't do wins, loss. I'm like you. It's like, I'm looking at the next game and that's it. And we're going to try to win that one. But like, you got to do it with passion. So like, you're going to celebrate each other, right? You're going to, when you get that and one, it better not be like, I'm acting too cool for school. Like, no, man, like that's not it for me. And so that's what I think really brings people to our game. It's fundamental, sure. And passive, we're moving around. That's great. But like, I'm a big believer in the passion part of it. And so my team will bring that.
Awesome. All right, Coach, anything I missed you want to share? This could be basketball related, not basketball related. You want to tell people about your dog, whatever, anything. Because I'm a talker, as you can see, and I'm kind of navigating the interview. But you may look back and say, I really wanted to talk about this. So if there's anything in particular that you think that other coaches or just people that casually listen will want to hear, is there? We got it all.
I don't think so, man. I appreciate you doing this. I'm glad you're doing it. It's like, I think the more things like this people can do, the better, man. I'm a big believer in, if you don't know, ask. And like part of things like this, like you might have hated 89% of what I said, but if you get 11% of what I said and it can make you a little bit better, like I'm in. And so I just think I appreciate you doing this, and keep doing it, man.
No problem. Thanks again for your time, Coach.
Absolutely. Thanks, Christian.